All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated.
Good afternoon, everyone in and outside the courtroom. Before we start, in my decision setting the date for the initial appearance, I authorized a court photographer to take a few pictures of the accused. So I will ask the court photographer to proceed now for 1.5 minutes, please. Thank you, Madam Photographer. Court officer, can you please call the case?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is case KSCBC 2023-11, the Specialist Prosecutor versus H.Shala.
Thank you very much. Before asking those present in the courtroom to introduce themselves, I would like to remind everyone of a few rules that must be observed at all times in order to make courtroom proceeding smooth. Please make sure that you activate your microphone before speaking and you switch it off as soon as you finish. Talk slowly and clearly, as we have interpretation from and into Albanian and Serbian. Wait 5 seconds before responding to me or a party or participant in order to allow the interpreters to finish the interpretation. What is said in this hearing is transcribed in real time and will be reflected in a transcript available to the parties and to the public after this hearing. I would also like to remind the parties that certain information in this case is subject to protective measures and confidentiality orders. Confidentiality information shall not be disclosed in open sessions. If any party or participant must go into private session and refer to any confidential information, please indicate the reasons. Now, I would kindly ask the parties and participants to introduce themselves, starting with the Prosecutor in office. Madam Prosecutor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. For the Specialist Prosecutor's Office, Prosecutor Tesneen Shahabuddin, and next to me is Prosecutor Joshua Hafetz.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Now I turn to the defense, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Lawrence van Puijenbroek on behalf of Mr. H.Shala.
Thank you, Counsel. I note that your client, Mr. H.Shala, is also present in the courtroom. Now I turn to the registry, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Good afternoon, colleagues. Jonas Nilsson, Deputy Registrar for Registry today.
Thank you, Mr. Nielsen. And for the record, I'm Nicolas Guillou, pre-trial judge for this case. The accused is appearing today for the first time before the specialist chambers following an indictment confirmed against him. Mr. H.Shala, will you please rise? Could you please tell us your full name?
My name is H.Shala.
place of birth.
17th of March, 1970. Bany Malishev.
What is your citizenship, or what are your citizenships?
Albanian for Kosovo. Military profession, otherwise I'm also a lawyer.
Mr. H.Shala. Let me now move to the procedural history of the case. On 4 December 2023, in my capacity as pretrial judge, I confirmed the indictment submitted by the specialist prosecutor against Mr. H.Shala, charging him with the offenses of Count 1, attempt to obstruct official persons in performing official duties by serious threat. Count 2, attempt to obstruct official persons in performing official duties by participating in the common action of a group. And Count 3, intimidation during criminal proceedings. On 11 December 2023, the SPO arrested Mr. H.Shala in Kosovo, at which point he was served with the confirmed indictment. Mr. H.Shala was transferred to the detention facilities of the Kosovo Specialist Chambers in The Hague on 12 December 2023. Mr. H.Shala, before we proceed any further, I have to make sure that you can follow the proceedings in a language that you understand and speak. Can you, Mr. H.Shala, confirm that you understand and speak Albanian?
Yes, I speak Albanian.
I am satisfied that you can follow the proceedings in Albanian, a language that you understand and speak, in accordance with Rule 92 of the Rules of Procedure and Evidence. If at any moment in the course of the proceedings you are not receiving interpretation, please draw my attention to it immediately. Now, let me explain the specific purpose of the initial appearance for the benefit of the accused and those joining us in the public gallery and following the proceedings online. Today's hearing is not a trial. No evidence will be presented or debated. And the guilt or innocence of the accused will not be discussed or decided. The purpose of this initial appearance is regulated by Article 39 of the law and Rule 92 of the rules. According to these provisions, as pretrial judge, I shall have the charges in the confirmed indictment read to the accused in a language he understands and speaks. Confirm that the accused understands the indictment. Satisfy myself that the rights of the accused, in particular his right to counsel, are respected. Inform the accused that within 30 days of today's hearing, he will be called upon to admit guilt or plead not guilty on each charge set out in the indictment. If the accused wishes to do so, he may immediately admit guilt or plead non-guilty. And finally, I shall also set other dates as appropriate in performing my functions as pretrial judge. I expect the parties to adhere to these matters, which I will address in turn. Should either party wish to discuss any other matter not expressly foreseen in the context of the initial appearance, they are invited to do so in writing by making a filing before me. Mr. H.Shala, I will first ask you to confirm if you have received the confirmed indictment in a language that you understand and speak.
Yes, Your Honor. I have received it.
I will now ask Madam Court Officer to read out the charges of the confirmed indictment as foreseen in Article 39 of the law and Rule 92.
Thank you, Your Honor. 1. In the confirmed indictment, the Specialist Prosecutor charges Mr. H.Shala with Count 1, attempting to obstruct official persons in performing official duties by serious threat punishable under Article 401, 1 and 5 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code and Article 15.2 of the law. Count 2, attempting to obstruct official persons in performing official duties by participating in the common action of a group, punishable under Article 401, 2 and 5 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code and Article 15.2 of the law. And Count 3, intimidation during criminal proceedings, punishable under Article 387 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code and Article 15.2 of the law. 2. These offenses were committed between at least 5 and 12 April 2023. 3. In relation to these offenses, there is a well-grounded suspicion that Mr. H.Shala is criminally responsible pursuant to Article 16.3 of the law for a. Committing the offense under Count 3 pursuant to Article 17 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. B. Co-perpetrating with Mr. Ismet Bakhtiari and Mr. Sabit Yanuzi the offenses under Count 1 and 3 pursuant to Article 31 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. C. Assisting in the commission of the offenses under Counts 1 to 3 pursuant to Article 33 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. D. Agreeing to commit with Mr. Ismet Bakhtiari and Mr. Sabit Yanuzi the offenses under Counts 1 to 3 pursuant to Article 35 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. And or E. Attempting to commit the offenses under Counts 1 and 2 pursuant to Article 28 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Mr. Shala, I wish to remind you that it is not the time to contest the charges, but simply to acknowledge your understanding of the charges. You will have ample opportunity to challenge the charges with the assistance of your counsel. Mr. Shala, did you understand the charges contained in the confirmed indictment as read out to you by Madam Court Officer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Shala. Now, let me inform you of your rights before this court. The law on the specialist chambers and the rules of procedure and evidence guarantee you a number of rights. I will read out the most important ones. First, you shall be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. In the determination of the charges against you, you are entitled to a fair and public hearing, subject to any measures ordered for the protection of victims and witnesses. You have the right to be informed promptly and in detail, in a language which you understand, of the nature and cause of the charges against you. You have the right to have adequate time and facilities for the preparation of your defense and to communicate with the counsel of your own choosing. You have the right to be tried within a reasonable time. You have the right to be tried in your presence and to defend yourself through your counsel. You have the right to have counsel assigned to you and without payment if you do not have sufficient means to pay for it. You have the right to examine or have examined the witnesses against you and to obtain the attendance and examination of witnesses on your behalf. You have the right to have the free assistance of an interpreter if you cannot understand or speak the language used in the court. You have the right not to be compelled to testify against yourself or to admit guilt. You have the right to remain silent, and no adverse inference shall be drawn from your silence. You also have the right to make unsworn statements relevant to the case, and you may appear as a witness under oath. You have the right to lodge preliminary motions to challenge the jurisdiction of the specialist chambers, to allege defects in the form of the indictment, and to seek the severance of indictment. You have the right to receive, within 30 days of today's hearing, the supporting material to the indictment submitted for confirmation. You have the right to receive all statements of witnesses whom the specialist prosecutor intends to call at trial in the language you understand and speak, namely Albanian. You have the right to receive immediately any information which may reasonably suggest your innocence or mitigate your guilt or affect the credibility or the reliability of the specialist prosecutor's evidence as soon as the information is in his custody, control, or actual knowledge. You have the right that all material and relevant evidence or facts in possession of the specialist prosecutor be made available to you before the beginning and during the proceedings. This right is only subject to restrictions which are strictly necessary and when any counterbalancing protections are applied. You have the right not to be detained for an unreasonable period prior to the opening of the case, to request review of decisions on your detention, and to appeal such decisions directly before the Court of Appeal. You have the right to appeal directly before the Court of Appeal a decision on preliminary motions challenging the jurisdiction of the specialist chambers. You have the right to seek leave to appeal other decisions. Mr. H.Shala, you heard the most important rights that you enjoy in accordance with the applicable legal framework of the specialist chambers. Do you understand these rights, Mr. H.Shala?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. H.Shala.
Thank you.
I wish to inform you that according to Article 21(5) of the law, you may not represent yourself because you are currently in detention. Representation by a specialist counsel is therefore mandatory. It is my duty as pretrial judge to ensure that your right to counsel is respected. To this end, I have noted the registrar's filing informing me of the assignment of duty counsel. I also understand from the registrar's filing that pending the appointment or assignment of counsel, you have been assigned Mr. Lorenz van Puyenbroek as duty counsel in accordance with Section 17.2 of the Directive on Counsel and Regulation 21 of the Legal Aid Regulations. Mr. H.Shala, can you confirm that Mr. Lorenz van Puyenbroek has been assigned to you as duty counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. Until another decision, he will be my counsel.
Follows that the accused is presently represented by counsel. I will now turn to the possibility for the accused to enter a plea, if any, in accordance with Rule 92. Mr. H.Shala, within 30 days from today, you will be called upon to admit guilt or plead non-guilty on each charge in the confirmed indictment. If you wish to do so, you may choose to immediately admit guilt or plead not guilty. I would therefore like to ask you, Mr. H.Shala, if you had had the opportunity to discuss the charges in the confirmed indictment with your counsel, if you are prepared to enter a plea at this time. If it is the case, I invite you to stand up while you plead. Mr. H.Shala.
There is
Until I'll receive all the materials from the prosecution, I can't declare myself about guilt or innocence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. H.Shala. Considering that Mr. H.Shala has not entered a plea at this time, I would like to ask the parties to provide their preliminary views, if any, on the scheduling of a further hearing to enter a plea, starting with the defense and then the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. Counsel, please. On the scheduling for now, just that point.
Your Honor. I have no submissions at this moment regarding the scheduling.
Thank you, Counsel. Madam Prosecutor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Also, no submissions as to scheduling.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. A further hearing to enter a plea will be scheduled in due course. Now, let me move to the working language of the proceedings. In the scheduling decision for this initial appearance, I asked the parties to make oral submissions at today's hearing on the working language to be used in the present case, according to Rule 8. Could the parties indicate their preference, starting with the Specialist Prosecutor's Office? Madam Prosecutor.
The Specialist Prosecutor's Office prefers English, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Counsel?
The defense sees no reasons to alter the current working language, Your Honor.
Thank you, Counsel. I will issue a decision in due course on that matter. In the scheduling decision for this initial appearance, I indicated that I intend to schedule pursuant to Rule 96 the first status conference on Friday, 15 December 2023 at 9:30 a.m. The purpose of the status conference will be to review the status of the case and to organize exchanges between the parties to ensure expeditious preparation for trial. Mr. H.Shala, I wish to remind you that you have the right to attend this status conference with your counsel. However, with your written consent and after receiving advice from your counsel, pursuant to Rule 96.2, the status conference may be attended by you in person with your counsel participating via video conference link, by your counsel with you, Mr. H.Shala, participating via video conference link, and it may also take place in your absence with your counsel present or participating via video conference link. I remind everyone in this regard that should counsel of or the accused wish to participate via video conference, written notice must be provided 24 hours in advance of the relevant hearing to the registry, so it has time to make the appropriate accommodations. Such notice shall be sent by email to the registry and should include the written consent of the accused. The registry shall file these emails as correspondences on the record of the proceedings. I would now like to ask the defense whether it plans to participate to the first status conference on Friday in person or via video conference. Counsel.
The defense intends to appear in person. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. You will receive a scheduling order during the course of the afternoon. And I will also ask the parties for written submissions on the topics of the status conference and any other matters they would like to raise during the status conference on Friday. I intend to schedule Thursday at 4 p.m. as the date for filing these written submissions. After the status conference, I will issue a decision on the Specialist Prosecutor's disclosure obligations in accordance with Rule 102 and on the redaction regime for the proceedings. And I invite the parties, and especially the defense, to consult my previous decisions on these matters in other cases. But in any case, I will seek submissions from the parties before issuing this decision. At this point, I would like to ask the parties whether they have any other issues they would like to raise, starting with the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. Madam Prosecutor.
No other issues for today, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Now I turn to the Defense Counsel.
No other issues, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. Would like to ask the accused, before we end this hearing, if, Mr. H.Shala, you have any issue you would like to raise in relation to your arrest, the transfer to The Hague, or your detention. Mr. H.Shala.
Just scharf naar regel.
No, I have nothing to add. Everything is fine, Your Honor.
Mr. H.Shala. Finally, as you remain in detention, Mr. H.Shala, I would like to inform you that you may challenge your detention on remand in accordance with Rule 57. This will be dealt with in written rulings. This concludes today's hearing. As usual, I thank the parties and participants for their attendance. I also thank the interpreters, stenographers, audiovisual technicians, security personnel for their assistance. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise.